appreciate you checking out this video. Before I continue, I want you to go to theultimatejetguide.com, where I've put together a full guide for jet buyers like yourself. What role does an appraisal play in a pre-buy, and how would you advise them? So most of the people, watching, they're looking for their first jet. Could be
Right.
$500,000, like a Citation, could be all the way up to maybe $8 million. They want to get a mid-size or heavy jet to put on a charter. What role does the appraisal play? Is the book, the VREF, is that like enough, or do you need to send out an appraiser before you make an offer?
So what I tell people all the time is like, let us be your tire kicker, right? So you can certainly subscribe and you can run numbers all day long and do proper research without really investing a whole lot of money or time for that matter. I mean, you should be able to do a full-blown valuation report in 15 to 20 minutes. And I think, if you're really good and know the market really well, you could probably shave half that. But, do the tire kicking. Don't rely on us to tell you about mechanical issues. Don't rely on us to tell you about airworthiness. And don't rely on us to tell you about the transaction and whether or not there's a lien or a clouded title. Rely on us to negotiate to purchase. And so with that, you got to realize what type of market environment you're in. And so when numbers don't necessarily align, it's either because the market's really hot and people have pie in the sky asking prices, or you made a mistake. And I find that it's usually that a mistake was made, that it's really, aviation's a really neat industry in that I find, especially in the piston side, most people are so honest and so ethical, and like, it's a safety of flight thing, and I think pilot to pilot, people don't want you to get hurt. They don't want you to put your family in something that's not safe. And I think, the smaller the airplane, the more intimate the community is with value, because they know if they put it out there for too much, they're going to get 10 phone calls and everyone's going to laugh at them or throw them under the bus on the internet.
Oh, it's brutal.
And so I do, right? And I mean, that's my favorite thing to do. If you want to know what I do in my spare time, I peruse Facebook closed services, closed groups. Oh, I love it. I love it. There's a pilot forum. I could sit there and eat popcorn and watch these posts all day long. There's 2 or 3 sales sites. And I mean, these guys are so brutal. Some guy put up a beautiful 172 yesterday, and it had basically a brand new factory reman engine. And he was asking enough to cover the cost of the motor and get it out of his front yard, And some guy's like, I want to know what you're smoking. Another guy's like, how much crack are you? And then finally, some guy's like, hey, if you run numbers on these engines, like what the guy's asking is actually a fair price, So I don't know. I think it's great entertainment. But no, I mean, we play a very vital role when you're going to buy or sell something. We tell you what it's worth so that you can negotiate, and either get a fair deal, right? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't think that there's any like killer deals anymore, but you can certainly do better if you're willing to go to a class of aircraft that isn't popular. This is a popularity contest, right? So value and popularity go hand in hand. The more popular an airplane is, the easier it is to sell. The more STCs, the more support, the more stuff you can throw in it. People love them, and the flip side is the less there is of something, the harder it is to find somebody that's willing to buy it because you don't know a whole lot. That's also where we come. We know stuff about aircraft that you've never even heard of, and so it's nice in the appraisal world. Everybody has like a field book, where they've taken notes on assets or equipment and they've marked notes down, and that's kind of like a Bible that they can go back to, or a Wikipedia.
Yeah.
That's what I brought to VREF. So like all of that data now is embedded. So like you don't have to go back and reinvent the wheel when you're bouncing between a Piper Cherokee and or Mooney. I mean, you don't have to remember all these details. We've got it all in there now. So it makes you a smarter buyer, makes you a smarter seller. I also think the STC world and the avionics world has gotten to a point where it's crazy. I mean, 15 years ago, you couldn't put more than the value of an aircraft into an aircraft. Today you can.
Yeah.
And so can you imagine now if you're the bank and somebody sends you a 1940 something aircraft with $100,000 panel in it? You're not going to approve the loan. Then you're going to go into VREF and go, oh my God, he's right. It is worth what he says it's worth. Right. I mean, it's happened to me 3 times already this week. And what is it, Thursday? That's so it's a busy week for crazy vintage aircraft that people have put glass panels in. But I had a 1946 Navion yesterday, $60,000 airplane that's going under it's closing at over 200,000 because of how much restoration and stuff was put into it.
Yeah.
So the guy was smart. He picked up the phone, he called me, he's like, I can't get these numbers to work. He's like, what the hell am I doing? I was like, first of all, nobody has a $200,000 Navion. So no wonder why the numbers are off. I was like, let me look at it. And by the time I figured out what was going on. I was like, actually, the numbers aren't off. It's just you don't have the ability to put those numbers in. You don't know enough about how much this stuff costs.
That's really interesting because I will get a VREF or I'll go to AOPA with my subscription and put stuff in, and I'm like, why are these numbers not equating out to where I know the market's at?
Right.
Like I
That's usually
know
what
where,
it is.
and it's
It's
you
usually what it
you're
is.
saying it's your error. Interesting.
Usually, and it's really easy to like screw up factory reman versus overhaul, right? So we just track overhaul numbers. Every time I've gone to try and add factory reman or new, I think it adds confusion. We've always
Mm.
done it based on an overhaul. Um, but factory remans today versus a field overhaul, oh my God, it could be twice as much.